प्राइवेट स्कूल्स एजुकेशन को बिजनेस बना रखा है और अपनी मनमर्जी करता है। ऐसे ख्यालात हमें अक्सर आते हैं, पर एक नजरिया प्राइवेट स्कूल की भी सुन लीजिए। एडमिशन के चैलेंजेस, गवर्नमेंट का प्रेशर और पेरेंट्स के डिमांड्स, इन्हीं चीजों को डिस्कस करने के लिए हम बात कर रहे हैं द एसोसिएशन ऑफ झारखंड अनएडेड प्राइवेट एजुकेशनल इंस्टीट्यूशंस के चेयरपर्सन श्री नकुल कमानी से। इस पॉडकास्ट में हम जानेंगे प्राइवेट स्कूल के चैलेंजेस के बारे में और कैसे हम प्राइवेट स्कूल एजुकेशन को थोड़ा बेहतर बना सकते हैं। Hi, I am Antara Bose, a journalist, a podcaster, a filmmaker, and a diversity enthusiast on a mission to bring out the cultural and intellectual diversity from tier 2 cities in India. So welcome Nakul sir to this TVC podcast.
Morning Antara, how are you?
I'm fine, absolutely fine. Hope you're doing well too.
Don't see you in Jamshedpur much anymore.
Yes, because my base has been shifted to Ranchi, and so we are looking throughout the state. We are trying to create some amazing content. And talking about schools, because I have covered schools for like 18 years when I was with the English Daily. This is very close to my heart, a topic very close to my heart. So today we want to talk about the school spectrum, how private schools struggle, and a lot about it. So what I wanted to know is that how do you define schooling? Is it a learning system or a survival mechanism that you grow up, get a job, and then live your life? How do you explain the schooling system of the country?
So I will start with my own personal belief, which I'm not going to talk about the countrywide system. But I've seen over the years, because I don't consider myself as an educator. I consider what I do as a little bit more samaj seva, a little bit of philanthropy thrown in. And we run schools for not-for-profit, as you know. Most of the schools in Jamshedpur run not-for-profit. So we've been trying to create centers of excellence as far as schools are concerned. I have seen over the years repeated governments, they gave families rice, wheat, 1 rupee a kilo and 5 rupees a kilo. And in my mind, that only perpetuates poverty. They are never going to be able to rise above that level. And then came in Manegra and Jiramji and the rest of it, which is now not even encouraging them to go out to the fields and work anymore. I have, to the complete other end of the spectrum, always believed that if we give a child, any one child from a family, a good education, an affordable education, that child will become capable of looking after the family for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And therefore, that being a central belief which I operate with, we feel that we must provide education to as many children as possible. We operate 2 other schools apart from this English school, which you must be aware of.
Yeah.
So those are what we call the aided schools, government aided schools, which means that the government pays for the salary of the teachers, but we provide the school, we provide the building, infrastructure, everything. And these children study there free. Where children are particularly poor, we even give them uniforms, shoes, books, give them the dignity to be able to stay and study with the other children. And these children, I have been happy to see in various train journeys and others, somebody suddenly comes from somewhere and touches your feet and says, I have passed out from the D.N. Kamani school and I have passed out from here. And they have all got excellent jobs and they're doing well for themselves. So I think that just reaffirms the belief that I have had that giving an education is a very important part that we can give to society.
So, but our private schools, लोग ये मानते हैं कि private schools are very, posh, they charge high fees. Are the private schools filling some gap, or is it about surviving a system and just being in the system? And because many people feel that you're incurring profits also. School तो बस नाम का trust होता है, but private schools कमाते बहुत है. So, what is your take?
So I'm glad you asked that question because uh, in Jamshedpur in particular, I don't want to, well, maybe why not? I'll talk about other schools also. But Jamshedpur schools are the lowest fee charging schools in the entire country. Schools in Jamshedpur on average charge maybe about 2,000 rupees a month. And schools in Calcutta, which is a neighboring state, charge 25, 30. If you go to UP, Noida, go to Delhi, NCR, they charge lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh rupees a month. I mean, it's a that school. If you talk about, yes, I can say that you're talking about profiteering and schools are doing this to make money. But at 2,000 rupees a month, where is the question of making money? This is basically you are able to just give children a good but affordable education, and which is what we are trying to do here. And I must also say that despite these fees that we are charging, I think Jamshedpur schools, you must be aware that they are some of the best schools in the country. They might not be so well known, but the small schools, they provide a good education. We have scored consistently in the board exams in Jamshedpur schools have done extremely well. So it is not about profiteering. Yes, schools do make surpluses, but then these surpluses are reinvested back into creating additional infrastructure. Because as you go along, one is your existing infrastructure needs updating, and two, a lot of new technology is coming. So we started with what they call the smart classrooms. So we started with the projector and AV systems. So we have tied up with Tata Classes, let's say. So they give us the content. But that is a way of teaching, particularly now that we've got a lot of BPL children in the school, teaching them the right way of pronouncing, the right way of speaking, and things like, when you, in science subjects, talk about the refraction of light. I mean, a teacher can spend all day on a blackboard and still not be able to explain really how it works. So one short video will give these children exactly what this means.
They visualize.
Of course, because they're seeing it.
Yeah.
And now this smart board is now being replaced with these TVs. So this is what we are now experimenting with. We are going to move to TVs. Now this is going to be another huge jump.
Of course.
And going to be a huge another expense. So it is not about profits. It is about continuous excellence and continuous improvement in the schooling.
So with technology, like apart from technology, what are the other things that has evolved over the years? Because I know 30 years ago, private education was very different from then what it is now. So technology, of course, is a big, huge change post-COVID, but what else has changed?
See, with us, we have always encouraged parents not to go for, let us say, even something like tuitions for their children. Because we feel that we are teaching them enough during the day so that they do not need to go back for a tuition after.
But they still go.
So we try to make sure that our own teachers, they have got restrictions on taking tuitions, because we don't want. I can't see a child 6 hours he's in the school, goes home, has lunch, has a shower, instead of going out to play with his friends, he goes back for a tuition. What kind of childhood does he have? He'll finish his childhood just buried in his books, which makes no sense. He'll lose his childhood. So we don't believe in that. We believe in a child being able to cope with his syllabus, with his education within the school hours. And we are trying to do that. We are trying very hard to do that.
But Nakul sir, this is very interesting, because when I talk to parents, why do you send your children to tuitions when the school is doing more than enough 6 hours in school, and with teachers, good teachers, educated teachers, they say that school वो नहीं पढ़ाता जो जेई के एग्जाम में पूछा जाता है. So they would want, they prefer coaching classes, they prefer classes on physics, chemistry, biology, maths, and then like you said, a lot of childhood has already been lost. And with the gadget in hand, I think only few children go to pay who are seriously into sports. Otherwise, they don't. So what do you say when they actually question the competence of the teachers in the school?
So, that kind of coaching we're talking about is what Akash or Prerna or these classes, these institutes take children post 10th because they want to prepare them for JEE mains and that kind of stuff. Competitive entrance examinations. So till that time, when I'm talking about children without any tuitions, etc., till that time, we don't feel children need tuitions. When somebody is interested in getting into that level, he is, of course, parent is free to go to any institute. And but I've spoken to some of these institutes, and in fact, I've encouraged them to collaborate with us. I said, why don't we do this thing jointly? We will give you the children, we will give you the classroom. You take an additional 1 hour and prepare the children. Don't call them for another 4 hours, even for the +2 I'm talking about. So we're trying to do that to make sure that the kids don't lose their childhood. I mean, I care about this, so I feel we should do that. But you can't stop a parent from going anywhere at the end of the day.
Because I think parents ना अंत में क्या चाहते हैं, marks. So अगर if it's a student till class 10 also class 7 8, पेरेंट्स को चाहिए होता है कि रिपोर्ट कार्ड में कितने मार्क्स आए. नो मैटर व्हाट करिकुलर एक्टिविटीज और इफ द स्कूल इज टेकिंग एक्स्ट्रा इनिशिएटिव्स टू डू समथिंग एल्स, at the end of the day it zeroes down to marks.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's true. But what we are trying to do is, because we've got, let us say, 10, 15 or more clubs, so we are trying to ensure that every child is at least a member of one club, if not more, so that some extracurricular activity is more or less forced onto that child. We want him to take part in other things. Yes, parents, I mean, over the years, what you're saying is true. I can't stop it. I can't get away from that fact. But then Antara, that over the years, the parents had only two things in mind. I want my son to become an engineer, or I want my son to become a doctor. I mean, they couldn't see beyond that.
Yeah.
So we have started bringing in professionals from every field of life. And every month we get them to come and address children, get them to start getting interested. Then we bring in parents also. So whether it is somebody who is a film director, somebody who's from the Navy, somebody who's from the Air Force, lawyers, artists, I mean, every walk of life. Because today there are hundreds of options. Our country, everything is opened up. Mm-hmm. And there are every field in which people can make money, and serious money. So it is not necessary to go back to just being the engineer and the doctor, which parents... So it is an education for the parents also that we are trying to do. That, you have to look at something different than just this. So marks, even if somebody is not doing well at the end of the day, is not ranking in the first 10 in the class, he might be in the last 10 in the class, but he might be great in other activities.
Right.
So we encourage that, because if he is good in music, he's good in dance, he's good in there's so many things that he can take up and do.
But I think especially for this city, because we are governed by a corporate house, they see the livelihood from coming from being an IIT aspirant. So, but having said that, do you think parents have become more anxious than they were in the past?
More anxious?
Of how their child is performing, what they are doing, because they have 10 other activities beyond school.
No, I'm sorry. I don't think that they've become more anxious. In fact, to the contrary, I will tell you something from my experience. In fact, it is something much worse that is happening. They are no longer anxious.
Okay.
we've had something called the Right to Education Act, which was introduced a few years ago. And one of the things that the Act spoke about was free and compulsory education. So, which was fine. The rules which have been made by the state government, the rules are saying that you cannot detain any child up to class 8.
Yeah.
So now the parents don't care. Children don't care. And children don't care because they know that they're going to get promoted. Parents don't care. We call them for parent-teacher meetings saying that this child is not doing well, he's not paying attention, he's not doing... They don't, half the time they don't even come for the meeting.
Yeah,
because they know that he's going to get promoted. And then the problem starts. Post 8th, 9th is pre-board, and you have a lot of failures, and then you will find all
the parents standing outside the school.
Not parents, there are some Abhibhavak Sangh, etc. They will come and they will do drama outside the school. So many failures, and how can so many failures suddenly? Failures are happening every year. You're getting the report cards. We're telling you that your child has failed, but he has been promoted under RTE very clearly. So, but they don't care. He is promoted as far as they're concerned.
But I think Right to Education, Free and Compulsory Education Act has a lot to discuss, and we have a lot to discuss on this topic. Especially being in this city, there has been a lot of problems that even I, as a journalist, have encountered. Why do parents want free education, but do they want quality education? Because free education to government school mein bhi aata hai. Why not there? Why here in the most elite schools, so-called elite schools of Jamshedpur or Ranchi, Dhanbad, whichever city it is?
So it is, I think it is moral corruption in the present age. Moral corruption, parents who under no definition come under BPL. And BPL also, of course, needs to be revised now because they are talking about 72,000 rupees a year.
Yeah.
So minimum wage has now become 3,000. It has been increased by 3,000 last year. So with the minimum wage at 12,000 rupees, how can BPL be 72,000? So there is a clear anomaly over there, which government has to address. It's their problem. But these parents, they come in their own car. They leave their car 200 yards away from the school. They walk in here and they behave as if they are a BPL. They go to the education office. I do not know what arrangements they have. There must be some arrangements because they get school of their choice and the department sends us the list that this is the children that you have to take. So we have to do the entire drama of doing lottery. We don't do screening. We are not allowed to do screening. We are not allowed to do testing. We are not allowed to interview.
But there was a time, I think, when school had the right to scrutinize applications.
So that has been removed by the state in the rules that they have changed. You can't even interview a child.
Okay. Interview was not there since the implementation.
You can't test, no written test, nothing. So we have to take children purely by lottery. So the department people come here. They have us conduct the lottery. And it's funny because it's not actually, I'm sorry, wrong word. It's not funny, it is sad. Because a parent who can afford it, they go and buy forms from 10 schools. And they apply in 10 schools. A poor parent who is maybe living in contractors
genuinely
area,
need that seat.
He lives in this area, let's say contractors area.
Feeder area, under RTE.
So he will come to us, buy one form, and he wants his child to come here because for him, the child can walk it here. Which is what RTE had stated initially, that neighborhood schools within 1 kilometer. There again, the state government has changed it to 6 kilometers, which means that from the neighboring district.
Yeah, even Aditapur is neighboring district.
So from 6 kilometers, Aditapur children can come here. So that has changed. So now those people who have taken 10 forms, they will get admission in 2, 3, 4, they will definitely get. Then they have a choice to decide which school they want to, which is the best school, which is or whatever it is they want to. This kid, whose parent has not been able to afford to buy more than one form, he will perhaps not get selected in the lottery. He might be one of the most deserving children. And if he doesn't get admission here, his year is gone. Next year, getting admission is even more difficult because entry level is
Entry
where the
level, age factor, many things. Huh?
so it is patently unfair what the system has been made into. But that these are the rules. We follow the rules. We play with the rules. We can't do anything about it. And you feel bad because children who are sometimes uh, genuinely needy parents, but who are morally correct. They have not gone and got themselves registered as BPL because he is earning maybe a lakh of rupees a year. So he doesn't have a BPL certificate.
Yeah.
So he is not going to be able to do this manipulation which the other parents are doing. And it is sad.
I think they have a lot of self-respect too.
So that is what I'm saying. Morally correct,
Yeah.
morally upstanding, that is the self-respect. Those are the qualities also which the children will take from their parents. What are they going to learn from the other parents who have gone and done whatever? It's not a happy scenario. It's a and talking of RTE, that
Yeah,
takes
because
us to
with RT, Jamshedpur schools have a special problem that they don't get
Yeah,
paid year
Jamshedpur.
after year.
Jamshedpur has been made into a very special city. It is the only city in the entire country in which schools are not being reimbursed the fees for the BPL children. And the BPL children
And
now
this is for how
consist.
many years now?
So, Act came in 2009.
Yeah.
And I need to say something about this act also. The act actually was framed in Parliament and presented by the then HR minister, which was Mr. Sibal. He tom-tommed the act as we are going to provide free and compulsory education to all children between the age of 6 and 14. Antara, I was one of the first people to go to the rooftop and clap. I was so happy. I said, this is the right thing to do. But then devil is in the fine print, really, as they say. So when we got the details, we found, much to our dismay, one, of course, as an income taxpayer, we started paying 1% surcharge on income tax from that same year, which has now moved up to 4%. So you and I both pay 4% on top of our income tax as education cess. This money we thought would be spent by the government in putting up good quality schools. What they did was they turned around and said, we are not going to put up schools. Private schools will reserve 25% of their seats for these children and we will reimburse them. We will reimburse them either the fee which they are charging or the cost which the state government is incurring on running their own schools, whichever is lower. So fair enough. I run 2 aided schools, so I have a rough idea of how much the government is spending, and which is, in fact, twice as much as what our fees are for the English school. So we were okay with that. And when the government started eventually reimbursing us, and they did reimburse us for a number of years, they reimbursed us at some figure of 425 rupees a month. I wrote to the state government under the RTI, Right to Information, saying, can you please let us know what is the cost which the state government is incurring? Because I knew it was much more than 425. They didn't answer. And they didn't answer. We sent them half a dozen reminders, and it's been 4 years, 5 years, they have not yet responded. So, well, so be it. So,
But then that
Jamshedpur,
means that Jamshedpur schools are educating children for free.
no, so Jamshedpur schools were getting reimbursed. Now, during COVID, we had a peculiar situation because one was obviously schools were closed, but teachers were coming here.
Yeah.
They were conducting online classes. So we had to invest in infrastructure. We were the first people, because I also have an IT company, so we were the first people to introduce the online classes. We started the online classes and made sure that the syllabus was covered and kids were getting the education that they needed. Some parents turned around and said, schools are not operating, why should we pay fees? And at that time, unfortunately, the then education minister, he is no more, God bless his soul, he turned around and he endorsed that. He says, yes, why should you pay fees? So schools were in such a difficult situation because they had their costs, they had the teachers, they had to pay their salaries, they had to do whatever they had to do. Nothing had changed for the schools. But they had no salaries, no fees coming in. So they had no income. At that time, the government turned around and said, we will pay you at the rate of 425. And I remember our DC that time was Mr. Amitabh Kaushal. So I had gone to see him that time. And I said, where is this 425 come from? He says, I don't know. It's come from the education department. I said, I can't take 425. That is not what the rules or the act states. In fact, then there were half a dozen of us, management of schools, who had gone to see him. He says, you take this under protest and we will make sure that you get the balance money. We took it under protest, and all of us have written over there, accepted under protest. Balance never came. In fact, after that, they stopped paying altogether. So, in the last 5 years, I have been raising this at every forum that I could. And eventually, there is this association of Jharkhand Unaided Private Educational Institutions, that is AJUPEI, of which Mr. Bodanwala and Mr. Chandrasekhar were the two
Founders.
They were the Mr. Bodanwala has, of course, not been well for some time.
Yeah.
And Mr. Chandrasekhar also turned out that his wife has not been well. So, in one of these meetings, I must have made a little bit more noise than everybody else. So he said, why don't you take over?
Yes.
So, immediately the rest of the people sitting there, they said, yes, Mr. Kamani, you take over. So I said, okay, I'll take over. And then Mr. Chandrasekhar was kind enough to stay on as advisor to the chairman, which is me. And once I took over, the first thing that we initiated was how to get this money back from the government. Because it is a huge dent. 25% every year of my total admissions, if I take them free, and I do not get reimbursed even later, that means it is like a 25% income tax. Now, schools are exempt from tax. And state government has no right to impose a income tax. It is only central government which can do it.
Yes.
But that is what is happening. So the administration, the DSE, DEO, including DC, we met so many times. They said, yes, there is a problem, we'll let you know.
But this is where you're talking about the bureaucracy and the problem.
Let me finish this one. It is the last DC, Mr. Mittal. So I was in particularly good terms with him. He was a very fine person individually. He eventually told us, he says that the education department has taken a view that you will not be reimbursed because...
You'll not be reimbursed?
You will not be reimbursed.
Okay.
You will not be reimbursed because you have got land free from Tata Steel. And we have given land free to Tata Steel. So I said, I have written to you asking for this. Why don't you reply to me? What you're telling me, why don't you give me in writing? So he said, yes, of course I'll give you in writing. But he did not do it despite several reminders. And then our new DC who has come, Mr. Satyarthi, I went and met him sometime in November. And he was not aware of this stand which had been taken by the education department. He was shocked. He says, why have you not been reimbursed? I'll make sure that you get the money. I was very happy. I said, sir, that may not happen, but I'll be very happy if you can do something. He said, give me 1 week. And 1 week later, I went back to see him. And he says, sorry, I can't, because this is a directive from the education department. So I said, okay, then what can be done? So he says, they are saying very clearly that because of this. I said, I'm aware of that. Can you please give it to me in writing? He says, why you will go to court? I said, I may.
And that's my right.
I may. He says, no problem. I'll give it to you in writing. He gave it to me in writing.
Okay.
He
He did.
gave it to me in writing. He gave it to the association in writing, saying that this is the state government believes that they have given land free to Tata Steel. Tata Steel has given the lease to you free, and therefore you are not entitled to any reimbursement. Of course, arguing with him or something different, we did discuss this in great detail. I said that I have gone into the RTE Act
Yeah.
in great depth. The RTE Act talks about this, that there are places in the country where government has given land at concessional rates, particularly in Delhi, etc., where land rate is so high.
Yeah.
They have given concessional rates to the schools, but in the lease, it is very clearly mentioned that we are giving you a reduced rate. In exchange for that, you have to take X number of students. So that is part of the act, that if you have got land in which it is stated in the lease that you will have to then in turn take so many children free. In our case, Tata Steel's lease was originally made 100 years ago or more.
Yeah.
Okay. That time, the RTE Act was not even a figment of anybody's imagination. So there is no question of that having ever been incorporated into that lease.
Right. And just for a city.
One city. Okay. The fact that we call it lease means it is not free.
Yeah.
So what government is saying is that we have given you free land. It is not free. You are charging Tata Steel maybe crores of rupees. I don't know how much you're charging. And Tata Steel is also charging us because it's lease. Lease cannot, if it is even 1 rupee, it is not free.
Yeah.
So the Act states that if you've got free land,
So technically it's not free.
it's not free.
Yeah.
It's not free. We are all paying. And the fact is that the state government has accepted this. They paid me for a few years.
Yeah.
Same thing they paid.
So that's on paper also that they have paid.
They paid, it is there. I mean, it is there from their own systems, records, everything is there. The checks are there, everything is there. So now it is a matter of change of opinion somewhere along the line. And it is sad because Jamshedpur, to answer that question which you started off, it has been given the most favored status city in the whole country. This is the only city in the country where fees are not being reimbursed.
I think this country, this concept of shiksha or education or sharing knowledge has a lot to do with not for profit. So they think that knowledge share karna is a not profit activity. But they, in the whole scenario, they forget that if you don't do profits or if you don't earn money, sustainability is going to be a big issue. Who will explain them that?
So we start with them first. Them meaning we are talking about presumably the state government.
Yeah.
So the government runs their own schools. And now they are talking about the special schools, the CM schools and that kind of thing.
Yeah, same school for excellence.
Now, I have over the years been approached by social organizations such as Rotary and others. They've come to us saying that, can you please give us your old benches and desks? We will do some repairs
Donate
and we
it
want
to
to
them.
give them to government schools. Why? Because they don't have desks and benches. They don't have toilets. Girls don't have separate toilets. They don't have drinking water.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even have a roof.
So a lot of CSR funds goes to government schools.
So where is it going? Anyway, I don't want to get into that. That is not my business. But the fact is, the government has an option of improving their own education. RTE again talks about after government schools seats are filled up, then the surplus will go to the private schools. So again, under the RTI Act, Right to Information, I wrote to the government, can you please tell us how many seats are vacant in your schools? They won't answer.
They don't reply.
They won't reply. 5 reminders, no reply.
So you ask it to the state education department, the district education department.
Education department and then to the education secretary, but there was not even an acknowledgement to those letters. So it's a little frustrating because it is entirely possible to improve the quality of education in government schools.
What is your take on artificial intelligence? Because every child is now exposed to a lot of apps. India just had the AI summit, and everybody talks to ChatGPT and Gemini. So, how are schools coping up with this challenge, which is not yet in its full phase?
No, so everybody is still talking about it. There is not so much that we really know about it. So what we are doing is we are getting people who are experts in this field to come and start talking to our children. So we had a professor from Excel who came and spoke to our kids from class 6 to class 12. And he gave a session on basics of AI. So AI, as you know, there's so much debate going on. AI will take away jobs and AI will take away whatever. I would imagine, in my thinking, that the AI will affect only the jobs where there is no physical expertise involved. So your plumber, your electrician, those guys they are never going to get affected.
Yes.
It is only the clerical and the paper pushers who are going to be affected, which would probably mean most of the government.
But do you know one interesting fact? Students talk to ChatGPT.
Yes,
like we talk to each other.
Your phone prompts you to do that. Your WhatsApp prompts you to do that.
Right.
So it's a great tool.
They talk to them. They talk to ChatGPT because they say that it gives answers the way I want it to give me answers.
ChatGPT gets trained.
Of course, it's data, it's pattern.
Yeah, so absolutely. So there are so many people, particularly in the US, etc. You learn about them. Or lonely, who have made these people
of course.
companions.
But are you training your teachers to combat this problem? Because a lot of students do their project work also on ChatGPT now. So how are teachers being trained on AI?
We are trying to train them. We unfortunately do not have adequate resources in Jamshedpur to train them. So I've been talking to some of our colleagues at least in the core committee of the association. So Shrikant and Sharat, and these are all they are more educators than I am. I'm not, as I told you to start with, I'm not an educator. But they are. So they are trying to organize joint seminars for all the teachers of various schools. Because first we need them to get trained before we go into the children part. So this is an ongoing process, but we have started that.
Okay, so ethics, I think, comes under that umbrella, how to teach ethics under AI, and teachers have a new problem because students do AI generated homework. So, of course, teachers know when they see, when they correct 4 papers or check 4 papers, they know where it goes.
They'll know exactly because there'll be so many similar answers.
Of course. So, what is the solution now? If you take forward private school education system.
So again, I come back to what we were talking about, that we want children to be able to study enough in the classroom itself. This thing about going back home and tuitions or that kind of thing may not be required if they do what they are supposed to do in class. And which is why we repeatedly keep saying that don't go for tuitions. We keep advising parents, don't go for tuitions. We are giving you enough and more in the classroom. And now with these teaching aids, it's become a lot easier to teach.
Yeah. But it's easier, sir, but at times I think students are under a lot of pressure also. With tuition, schools, 10 other activities, sports. Do schools also think about their mental well-being or emotional well-being? And if it is true, then what are schools doing for that?
So I don't know about too many of the other schools because this is a sensitive thing which schools don't really want to talk about. But we have had a counselor, a professional counselor. Earlier we had Dr. Neena Dugal was here for a number of years. And now we have got another counselor. So the counselor is full-time employed to the school only for this.
Okay.
For teachers who have a problem and for students. And you won't believe the number of children who either go on their own now, because earlier they used to feel reluctant to go to a counselor. They go on their own now. Or teachers recommend that they go. And some of the teachers also go. because they also
Okay.
have problems. So
They have become more accepting about
because it is no longer thought of as a mental illness.
illness.
Earlier,
Yeah.
it used to have a stigma,
Of course, of course.
and but now no more. It is it's a counseling like you
Yeah.
do for counseling. What kind of
It's a guidance.
yeah, whether I should go for this subject or that subject, or so
Right.
so we have done that, but and I'm sure other schools are also doing that, because it is, though it is not prescribed in any curriculum anywhere, but it is something which is required, and we feel it's required.
What is the biggest challenge that you see in the next 5 years for private schools?
Survival. Very simply,
Oh, I think
survival.
the Aam Janta, they always believe that two sectors are never going to die, that is health and education.
I used to say that earlier. I used to think that also, till we experienced COVID. And when we experienced COVID, you have no idea, for those 2 years, parents just stopped paying fees. Schools had no money.
But I think, sir, COVID was the time when it showed parents what schools are meant for, not only education, but also social gatherings, communication. There are so many things beyond the book that you read in the classroom.
Absolutely.
So I think COVID showed us that you need schools.
Schools are always going to be needed. And as you say, yes, these are non-recession, they are recession-proof areas, medicine and schools.
Yes.
But the circumstances that we are facing today, these could also become recession-prone.
Yeah.
It could,
But a lot of parents in the metros are also going for homeschooling. I think that is more scary. Do you feel so?
but then for homeschooling, you have to have, first, parents have to be educated.
Yeah.
And then one parent has to have the time.
Of course.
Not be
so that's
employed.
another ballgame, of course.
So that is a different story altogether,
Yes,
because to find one parent, both parents well educated, one parent not working, only then they can afford to do this. That is a little difficult, but people are opting for it if they want to. In Bombay, Delhi, people are actually opting for it because the fees are so high for schools.
Okay.
That is the other thing. A parent might work and get 2 lakh rupees a month, and he has to pay 2 lakh rupees a month as school fees.
Right.
Of course. The economics just they're so simple, So homeschooling would work there because the circumstances are different. Here, schooling is so inexpensive. I won't say cheap. It is so inexpensive that we don't have that issue here.
Since we talked about bureaucracy and all the problems that schools face, what is the one or two reforms that you generally look forward to?
I have said this before, and I will say it again. Leave us alone. And we will give you the best that you want. Schools in Jamshedpur are reputed to have been or to be the best schools. Just do not interfere with what we are doing. We have your child's interest at heart. School has its own reputation to maintain. We are not in it for profit. All of us who are running schools are doing this as more of Samaj Seva than anything else. Honestly, I have given up my business because I find this the most gratifying thing. I'm not saying satisfying, gratifying thing. At the end of the day, I find that I am happy. Despite all these problems that I've got, the problems are there, and we'll have. Okay, I've got an additional responsibility as chairman of this. I will fight these problems. We will find solutions. It's okay. But it is gratifying. I've retired from all businesses. So it's Kilol and the rest who look after it, not me anymore.
So your whole and soul is now in education.
Education and my Samaj and the society, various things that I'm involved in, hospitals and things. So these are things that I spend my time doing. But to answer the question again, leave us alone. We will do the best job. You have seen it over the years. You have seen the government schools. You have seen our schools. In Jharkhand, we had one example of a fabulous government school, which was in Netarhat.
Yes.
And now you see what's happened to that.
Yes.
Even that has gone down the tube. It was really a wonderful example.
Of course.
And even that is no longer.
Yeah.
So it's not a happy state of affairs. I'm not blaming the government, maybe not blaming the bureaucracy. I'm not blaming any individual. It is the system. I believe if they were to keep us a little bit more involved, we because we've got the experience, we have the knowledge, we have it all. We can advise. We can even take up management of schools if required. Tata Steel decided one day their business was to make steel, not run schools. They handed over their schools to private schools. You take over and run it. It's a similar thing. Government really has no expertise or business trying to run schools. Why should they?
Right.
Look at the US government. What do they only look after? Postal department and defense, nothing else. Everything else is private. So that's the.
Thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure always chatting with you.
Yes, of course. And of course, on this topic, it has been an absolute pleasure to talk to you on this topic.
I'm sorry, maybe I've been too honest. I hope.
We go by what is taught in school. Honesty is the best policy. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you.